Hello everyone, this is part 29 of What If Naruto Failed and Chose a Different Path, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. 3 long days had passed since the group had found Tsunade, Shizune, and a clearly overly pampered-looking pig named Tonton. During that time things were pretty boring, aside from Jiraiya trying to continuously peep on Tsunade and Shizune in the hot springs only to be foiled by Naruto or his loyal Toad and Fox summons. The end result caused Jiraiya to be punched repeatedly through a wall on the male side of the hot spring with the same imprint of him staining it every time he was hit in the same form he was in from all his previous punches. Not only that, but Tsunade had made a wager with Naruto one day when he was training in a secluded area, much to Shizune's protest, knowing that the woman already lost to the boy in a fight, so it was pretty safe to say, at least mentally, that the legendary sucker would lose this bet as well, just like the other 99 of the bets she makes. Flashback one day ago. Naruto was practicing in focusing on a new type of Rasengan into his hand with not one, but 2 dark dragons to help create the ultimate technique out of the jutsu. Tsunade had walked in on him in that part of the forest when he was forming it with both arms now free from their respectable bandages. She was surprised to see the boy had such strength to even manipulate such power, much less his father's own prized jutsu. Silently the slug Sannon watched from the sidelines as he focused solely on the perfection of his newest creation. From what Slade had told her, Naruto had created several different elemental forms of the Rasengan from ice, water, earth, and natural fire, but he had never learned how to manipulate it to such a degree as this. The idea for using 2 dark dragons of the flame came to him in a dream that night through the NT that was the Jagan Eye. According to the demonic eye in his dream, if he were to carefully combine the basics of an incomplete Rasengan when formed with that of 2 dragon flames, the explosion when released could destroy anything it hit and would be nearly impossible to block or counter the attack when used correctly. It would be truly the ultimate Rasengan attack indeed if his dream of the accounts was correct. That was why he wasn't seen for first day, and here he was spotted by Tsunade training during the second, trying to make his dream a reality. Unfortunately, the dream wasn't becoming a reality as the components he was adding to the Rasengan were not combining well, and he had to stop before it could blow up in his face, retreating each dragon into each arm. Damn it, I was close that time, but it seems every time I get closer to perfecting it, the closer it becomes to being more unstable. Must be the weakness of the technique since it requires a great deal of power, said Naruto, putting his right hand to his chin in thought before turning to face Tsunade, not showing a hint of surprise she was even there watching him. That was pretty impressive, Naruto. I see you're acting just like Arashi does when trying to come up with learning or creating something new, said Tsunade, noticing the long and sinister-looking dragon tattoo on his right arm while she saw a smaller one on his left. The tattoo on my right arm is where the dragons you saw come from, while the one on my left is designed to hold some of them in that arm while they all feed on my chakra to grow. The tattoo on my left arm also makes it easier to combine 2 or more dragons into an attack rather than just using one at a time, said Naruto, as he noticed her noticing his dragon tattoos on both arms. I assume a very select few people know of this little part of you, said Tsunade, as she saw him wrap up his arms with special bandages and had a feeling she knew why from what both Jiraiya and Slade told her that the council that made up a standard governing part of Konoha wanted Naruto's no questions asked. Depends on certain aspects of me that you are referring to. My Jagan Eye was seen by nearly everyone during the Chunin exams, the Dragon of the Darkness Flame was seen by Iruka, Oji-san, and the traitor Mizuki before he saw firsthand what it could do, and using both arms to call upon my dragons has been seen by several people, but you would be the first human to see it, said Naruto, finishing his wrapping since he was done for the day and couldn't risk pushing himself any further than he had already. The only human, said Tsunade, confused by what he meant by what he just said. Tsunade-bar-chan, Tsunade scowls at him, did you not hear me just tell you about my Jagan Eye being demonic? The Dragon of the Darkness Flame requires it, but I did not have one at birth. I had to have it surgically implanted into me during my stay in Demon World, said Naruto, as if it were the most natural thing in the world to say. You went to Demon World. said Tsunade, now shocked that the boy was even remotely alive from being to such a, in her mind, horrible place. Granny, I have an ancient and powerful demon in me. Give me some credit, said Naruto before he started walking away, giving her a mock salute as he did. Naruto, wait. I'll make bet with you, said Tsunade, wanting to see if this kid could truly be the one to hold the one thing that had taken everything from her. Are you sure you want to? The last thing I need is to chase after you if you lose and I have to beat you into submission for backing out at the end of the bet, said Naruto in a slightly arrogant manner while making Tsunade mentally fume at Naruto for making fun of her losing streak, but pushed it aside for the moment. Look, here's the bet. I bet that you can't master that technique you were using by the end of the week before I go to see Orochimaru about fixing his arms. I'm willing to wager my grandfather's own prized lace with a gem that's worth enough money to buy several mountains. Meanwhile, you will wager, thinks for a moment, you will wager your dream to be Hokage when you are old enough to take my place, said Tsunade, knowing it was a fair wager all things considered in this wager. Naruto thought about it for a moment and wondered if he could complete the technique within a week. Dragona would help, and the Jaganai was being very responsive to the idea of using such a technique, but what bothered him was that Slade had left again to speak to someone named King Yama, who owed him a favor to help pull some strong to help him find someone for his training. Slade Sensei said this guy could help me with using a sly long-ranged attack made of pure chakra. Didn't say who it was though, except that don't make fun of his skin tone or something like that, thought Naruto, recalling how Slade had left late last night for this little venture and would probably return sometime before the end of the week was up with the said person for training. I don't have all day, brat, said Tsunade impatiently, tapping her foot lightly. First, I accept your little bet and agree to the wager, though you might as well hand over the lace now, seeing how I'm going to win. Second, it's better to be a brat than an old hag like you, said Naruto, smiling before he disappeared before Tsunade could have her fist connect with his face. Instead, she got a nice substitute in the form of Jiraiya, who had his pervert scope in his hands looking around. Where did I go just now? Said Jiraiya before he saw Tsunade's fist coming at him and hitting him in the jaw, sending him flying into a few couple dozen trees. Well, it was a nice substitute target, I'll give him that, thought Tsunade, finding she was probably going to hit Jiraiya anyway for his constant peeping and perverted ways. End flashback. Now Naruto was once more practicing long into the day, trying to perfect the Rasengan and bringing out a power that would one day be remembered as possibly the most feared attack ever created. The Double Dragon Rasengan of the Darkness Flame. Though I may need to work on the name a bit, seeing how it seems too long to say, thought Naruto, using his knowledge to help produce the technique now currently over halfway to being completed, but was now becoming more unstable the longer he tried to form it, making it explode in his face, this time knocking him back through several trees and a large rock knocking him out. Fortunately for him, Shizune was spying on him at Tsunade's request to see how he was progressing and ran up to him after the explosion to see if he was all right. It had taken her a while to get to him, considering the landscape looked like the S-god had gotten drunk and thrown himself into an alcohol rage-enhanced fit. He looks like he pushed himself too hard or has for some time. I better take him back so he doesn't become an open target should Orochimaru or Kabuto come by, thought Shizune before taking him back to the hotel for rest and medical treatment. Kohona Hospital. To most, people find that in hospital are a sign for a place to be treated for illness, minor to serious injuries, and other things that might plague them. However, on this fateful day, Kazama Arashi was marching at a furious pace with a purpose at the moment to see the head doctor in his rather plush office. Kickbacks from abusing Naruto, no doubt, was the thoughts of the fourth after he had seen the inventory of what was currently in the large office. The Yellow Flash had just finished having a long and, in his opinion, infuriating talk with Sarutobi about Naruto's past experience in the hospital. All of which involving his son and several of the doctors and nurses that treated him when he was injured from the villagers and other shinobi, who hated him due to having Slade inside of him. Without even considering to even knock on the man's door, Arashi turned the knob and entered the man's office, much to the other man's surprise. Hokage-sama, what do I owe the pleasure and honor of you gracing my office with your presence? Said the surprised head doctor, getting up from his leather chair only sit down when Arashi raised his hand. I have read a certain file that has come to my attention involving a certain policy that was made on one of your previous patients that I did not like when I read it, said Arashi, getting a somewhat weird if not curious look from the head doctor. What patient are you referring to, Hokage-sama? said the head doctor, now wondering which patient the fourth was referring to. My son, Kazama Uzumaki Naruto, said Arashi with his eyes turning as cold as ice. That demon is not your son Hokage-sama. As I have stated continuously in all of my reports, that demon is in human form that does not deserve your compassion. I could and would stake my own professional doctoral career on it, said the man with a smug look on his face. I assume that's your excuse for how your fellow doctors and nurses have treated my son over the years in my absence when he came in here after being beaten repeatedly by other villagers as well as shinobi, said Arashi, keeping his cold gaze entirely on the so-called good doctor. Regardless of what you call him, Hokage-sama, that boy is nothing more than a demon incarnated in human form, which should have SD fighting you. It is and always has been my professional opinion as a doctor that the demon's spirit took over your son's body and soul seconds after it was imprisoned. Thus the very son you believe to be yours is in truth the demon that should have been S for over a decade, said the head doctor, speaking to the fourth as if he had memorized exactly what to say, though it wasn't far off since that was what he put in his report when the child first came in with injuries. I see. So my son is S to me. Is that your official position on the matter with you and all the other doctors and nurses that serve under you? Said Arashi, cracking his N and ready to deliver a great deal of punishment. Yes, Hokage-sama, and before you go parental on me for what I said about your son that you claim is, well, I would like to remind you I am under the protection of the council. You cannot lay a finger on me for what I say or do to the demon, and the same goes for everyone else who feels the same way I do, said the head doctor, smiling, now thinking the council would intervene considering the amount of governing power they had gained since the third took office after leaving retirement. You really think the council will protect you after I end your profession as a so-called doctor? Considering that you are all rather soon will be expendable, said Arashi, feeling a good deal of bloodlust in him as he drew his old sword that was hidden behind his back under his cage robes, making the man in front of him get up, clearly not liking what he was hearing. What do you mean I'm expendable? No one in Konoha has my knowledge of medical expertise, and the only one who could actually replace me is the legendary Slug Sannin. Tsunade, said the head doctor, as if he came to a very horrible conclusion. For the record, like you, the rest of your staff will soon find themselves meeting the same fate, a very painful death, said Arashi, spearing his sword into the man's chest before quickly removing it and taking the doctor's head clear off. After cleaning his sword off with the doctor's coat, Arashi made his way over to the file cabinet and looked at each of the doctor's records, finding what he would need to name names. Each name led to a name on the council instructing them to poorly mend bones, give outdated medication, and going as far as to poison the hospital food given to Naruto. It also seemed to have people's names of those who had attacked Naruto during those beatings, seeing how they were under doctor-patient privilege, so that the third could not look at the files. After a quick and small fire jutsu to burn the doctor's corpse, Arashi took what files he needed and made his way back to his office to get the Anbu loyal to him to pick up the necessary people and to send them to Ibiki and Anko before sending them to be privately executed, not by their very own hero, but their soon-to-be fifth Hokage. In Spirit World Kinyama office. I can't believe you are asking me of this again. You wish me to release him from his imprisonment to the living world to train your vessel of an apprentice, said King Yama, looking at Slade from his giant desk that had a stack of papers on it that made the Hokage office back in Konoha look small in comparison. I do not see the problem. He was never meant to be down there anyway, considering his track record and the countless times he saved the Earth from destruction. Besides, this was never meant to be a permanent new start at life to begin with for him, if that's what you were thinking. I just need him long enough to help with Naruto's training and then he would go back. Though I would imagine that this time around he would be going up this time rather than down, said Slade, looking at King Yama, not backing down, fully well knew he had a firm case on the matter. King Yama sighed, clearly tired from this talk with the Demon Lord, and on this very topic at hand no less. The ruler over all of Spirit World wanted to have this particular specimen of a warrior go up above after going through such a deal. I mean, considering by all rights the warrior should go there given his time protecting the Earth along with the countless other species throughout the galaxy that were spared evil's touch. However, laws set several hundred years back by the Kais that they had passed had made things extremely difficult and had created more red tape that was thicker than sludge. He could put this as a temporary work release, and then when the Naruto's training was done he could simply just recall him and have him go up to the good side as a sign of finished repentance. Alright, you got yourself a deal, but if I find you're going to use him like all the others before him, I will see to it that you get what's coming to you. Do I make myself clear, Slade-san? Said King Yama, eyeing the other before him, as if to see through the mask for hints of deception that the being in front of him may have. Crystal clear, as always, King Yama, said Slade, bowing slightly to show some respect to the much larger, for the moment, figure before him. With all of the formalities done, the nine-tailed demon lord left the office to head to the check-in station to meet and greet a certain green Nankian warrior. One, who it had been at one point was once considered, the son of the great demon king, that he was the reincarnated form of. Human World, Ninja's Shadow, Hotel. The Ninja's Shadow Hotel was a non-gambling hotel that Tsunade had, reluctantly, checked into before she and Shizune, who begged her to stay at this one, ran into Naruto, Slade, and Jiraiya. After the skirmish, Tsunade losing to Naruto, an embarrassment, Jiraiya's anti-pervert beating, that went with the meeting, the group of Slade, Naruto, and a still very seriously MD corpse of a body that was Jiraiya's remains checked into the same hotel. All of them were sharing a single row of rooms with Tsunade on the far right, and Jiraiya, for the sake of his life still existing, was in a room on the far left, much to his perverted protests, of the now merged group. Shizune shared a room with Tonton next to Tsunade, while Naruto got the room next to her with Slade next to him, and of course one beaten, and whining, Jiraiya being the last. When Naruto had collapsed into unconsciousness from creating the jutsu or technique that was part of the bet he made with Tsunade, Shizune picked up the poor boy and took him to his room to rest. After putting a cold towel on his head to bring down the intense heat his body was generating while carefully avoiding Naruto's third eye, she looked at the boy more closely and realized just how similar he was to his father. If his hair was still blonde and the whisker marks were not there, you could swear to all things holy he looked like a young Kazama Arashi, thought Shizune, finding it hard to believe the man had a son and that same son was somehow able to bring him back to life. Physically and mentally she sighed as she remembered Arashi from her school days and how she had a secret crush on the man and how she would always stutter around him when they were talking. The memories of those days made her blush at the thought of seeing the man again back in Konoha when this whole ordeal with Orochimaru passed. She knew the man was now technically a widower since being brought back from the S and would like nothing more to comfort him at the moment. After all, she could relate to losing those close to her like Arashi did with those close to him. Including the fallout he had with his father that nearly destroyed the clan before the Kyuubi did. Naruto suddenly began to stir before her as she watched, his two natural eyes open, matching the strange Jagan eye that Tsunade told her was not human and told Shizune it was in her best interest not to insult thing. When Naruto opened his eyes he soon looked around, remembering this was his room in the hotel, before seeing Shizune with a somewhat daydreamed state look in her eyes standing over him a few feet away from the bed. Hey, Shizune-san, are you all right? No offense or anything, but I would prefer that the women that fall in love with be around my age, said Naruto, making the woman snap out of her gaze before blushing from pure embarrassment at how this looked. Oh no, Naruto, you got it all wrong. You see, I was thinking about your father and how when I was younger I had the biggest crush on him. He was older, of course, being in his late teens to early 20s while I was still 16 and growing. I remember Dan poking fun at me, saying how I should have acted sooner to nab Arashi before Hikari did. I remember giving him a week's worth of lumps for that remark, said Shizune, giggling a little at the end, making Naruto raise an eyebrow at her. Okay. Look, Shizune-san, I know you mean well in letting me rest in my hotel room after what happened with it blowing up in my face, but I have to finish. I need to finish continuing the development of my new form for the Rasengan if I'm to get Tsunade Bar-chan's enlace and to keep my dream of being Hokage alive, said Naruto, deciding on a change of clothes would suffice for the moment before taking some and headed for the bathroom. Listen, Naruto, I know you want to become Hokage and bring Tsunade back, but I don't think trying to beat her in this wager is the best thing. Tsunade has a lot of memories in Konoha and not all of them are good ones since she lost her boyfriend and little brother, who both wanted to be Hokage, calling it the dream. You are treading very dangerous waters with her in that area, said Shizune by the door with her back to the wall next to it, knowing he could hear her talking to him. After a few minutes of silence, Naruto came out wearing black shinobi uniform pants with a gray muscle shirt, white headband over his forehead, and was wearing black mixed with orange jacket on, looking close to being a standard civilian with his weights hidden under his clothing. You want to know about the bad memories that I have had in Konoha? Try living my life in a beaten up, run down, and ready to be demolished apartment because the bastard child overseer at the orphanage that had been forced to take me in kicked me out. When I was about 6 years old at the time. Why? Simply because I was the evil beast known as the demon boy, who, like everyone else in Konoha, hated me with a passion and out of for purpose. How about the one memory where I tried to attend the Kyubi festival on my birthday thinking everything is fine until a mob of villagers and shinobi come at me, nearly putting me an inch or two near death's door? Or how about the one where the hospital staff, after the occasional beatings from villagers, gives me outdated medication, shots without the disinfectant and required numbness of the skin, and trying to poison the food they give me, hoping I would just roll over and Tell me, Shizune-san, were any of Tsunde's memories similar to mine? Because if they're, then I will go right up to her and withdraw from the bet. Otherwise, don't get in my way of what I have to do to prove to her I'm not some snot-nosed brat who talks a big game. If anything, I'm a key player, said Naruto, walking out of the room, not realizing the walls of the building were paper thin in the hotel and that one Slug-san heard everything he had just said about bad memories. Now I understand. He suffered worse than me. He had no one for over a decade and he keeps going while I've been whining like a little baby. Dan would be so ashamed of me, thought Tsunade, as she silently cried and prayed that for once, she lost this particular bet to this particular boy. Spirit World check-in station 2 days later. Slade stood patiently with his arms behind back waiting for his new friend to arrive to head back to Human World and meet Naruto. Apparently there was more red tape on what King Yama had in mind than he was willing to admit. Forms had to be assigned by both parties, including a binding contract that punished either side if they broke the now signed contract that he and King Yama worked out. I'm doing all of this, simply for 2 simple techniques that when slightly altered by Naruto is able to use it. I must be getting soft in my many millennia of existence, thought Slade, as one of the pencil-pushing, glasses-wearing, trolls came with a certain being that had been discussed in the previous days. No sooner had his thoughts finished did a small motorized car roll up past the desk at the check-in station with one tall, muscular, and curious yet serious face Nankian. He was wearing his traditional Nankian clothes that were blackish type blue with the red waistcloth band and the weighted down white hat and cape. All during the ride he was sitting, Indian style, apparently slightly discouraged he couldn't fly to the station. Damn it, Goku, you just had to piss off Vegeta and goad him into a race, a Saiyan-style race no less, thought the warrior as he recalled Vegeta and Goku shooting energy blasts at each other, damaging everything they hit, including the check-in station itself. Well, here we are, sir, thank you for being so patient with the bumpy roadway, said the blue-skinned troll while the Nankian simply leaped out from the vehicle glaring at the troll before walking over to Slade, who seemed amused by his actions. Enjoy the trip here, said Slade to tall Nankian, whose face now seemed to scowl even more than before, though if that were even remotely possible or not Demon Lord wasn't sure. Hardly. Had I known I would have to train the boy that is currently your vessel, I would have stayed down there fighting old enemies for the sheer fun of it. He better not be some laid-back type brat that expect things to be handed to him, or the deal you made with King Yama is off, said the Nankian, annoyed at doing such a favor for someone with such an evil track record. However, on the brighter side of things, the Nankian had to admit if the contract was completed he could see Gohan again along with the others above. Trust me, this boy's life has been nothing but hell for him for the past decade, and only now has his life just started to get back on track. Trust me when I say he works just as hard as those Saiyans that you used to spar with back when you were alive. He won't disappoint you. You have my word on that, said Slade, knowing that the word of a demon lord is absolutely, if not more potent than a binding contract could ever be. In that case, let's go, said the Nankian before the two left the check-in station to the human world to help a certain multicolored boy get a new technique added to his list of impressive attacks. Human world, unknown mountain location. So the demon vessel is stronger than both you and Kisame had anticipated. Am I hearing you correctly, Itachi? Said the leader of Akatsuki in a slightly elderly voice while sitting on his throne in the shadows so dark not even Itachi could hope to see the man, if he was one, in front of him and what he looked like. Yes, leader. He was under the protection of one of the Sannin as well, along with another I have never seen before, but he acted calm the entire time around us as if we like flies he could swat away with the flick of his wrist, said Kisame while still feeling the soreness from the massive blow to his spinal column. Really? Tell me, did this other person with the boy wear orange and black with a metal mask with one eye while the other side of his face was all black? Said the now interested leader of Akatsuki, raising an eyebrow none of the other 8 members could see. Yes, leader. As I fought the Toad Sannin and Kisame fought the boy, I felt a great deal of strength coming from him that could overpower my own. It seemed not human, said Itachi, getting murmurs and whispers from the other members of the group. So after all this time he finally makes his appearance. I was beginning to think he would never break free enough to help Naruto out, said the leader of Akatsuki, lifting his hands up to his face and stroking the white beard he had for so long that covered his face. Leader, said Itachi, not fully understanding what the shadowy being now before him was talking about, even though it no doubt had something to do with the boy. It seems things have become more complicated than I originally thought. You two will go back to capture the boy and bring him to me alive. Take Sasori and Deidara with you as support and get back to Konoha, but wait for the opportunity to strike him when he would at least suspect it. I expect this mission to be a success regardless of fatalities you might receive. Understand, said the leader of Akatsuki, glaring at the now assigned members of his group. Yes, leader, said Itachi, bowing his head, partly wishing he was strong enough to take down this man to end the growing conflict. Good. Itachi, you are in charge of this mission, seeing how you are the strongest of this little group. The rest will find the other demon vessels they are assigned. Dismissed, said the leader of Akatsuki, causing the other 8 members to bow their heads and left to do what was ordered of them. Human world, undisclosed location. Tsunade with Shizune walked over through the massive clearing to see Orochimaru with his dangling and decaying arms along with his right-hand man and Dr. Kabuto next to him. So my old teammate, have you considered my offer in exchange for the restoring of my arms? Said Orochimaru, feeling more than confident at this point in time, along with Kabuto, who had a similar smirk on his face. Yes, I've been alone for a long time and I want Dan and my little brother back, even if it means helping a snake like you, said Tsunade, walking over to the man in his weakened state that was before her. Then by all means please proceed with the healing, said Orochimaru, now holding out his burned, and blistered arms out for her to restore to their former glory. Tsunade nodded before she walked towards them, slowly going through hand signs for the required jutsu she had in mind. Meanwhile, Shizune had stayed several feet behind her teacher while watching Kabuto carefully should the sound ninja spy try something at an unknown point in time. All we have to do is survive this moment and the battle to come before we make it to Konoha, thought a slightly worried Shizune, as she remembered Tsunade crying when she walked out of Naruto's room and heard the Sannin crying. As Tsunade began the healing process with her hands now glowing a greenish color, Kabuto looked on with medical knowledge-filled eyes before those very same eyes widened behind his glasses. Before anyone knew, Kabuto had acted and knocking the woman back slightly with a well-placed fist to her face, though from the way she braced herself it appeared she had been expecting it or something close to it. Orochimaru-sama, her jutsu was not to cure you, but to kill you, said Kabuto when he saw his master give him a questioning look. So you changed your mind, did you? Any particular reason as to why, Tsunade? Said Orochimaru, looking at her with disgust as he leaped away from her, trying to gain more distance. Don't get me wrong, Orochimaru. I was tempted by your offer more than you could ever know to be the truth. However, certain facts, if you will, were brought to my attention in regards to certain people back home you so conveniently left out, said Tsunade, her eyes looking menacing at the Sannin in front of her. Oh, so some Konoha ninjas are here too as well. No matter, even in my state I can best them easily with Kabuto to assist me, said Orochimaru, still smiling, though he fully well knew that you remove Kabuto from his side he was as good as gone. Oh, that would be us Orochi team, said Naruto, from dispelling his demonic genjutsu that made him and Jiraiya look like a large yet slightly withered tree. You. How dare you show your face to me, demon brat? Because of you my arms are nearly beyond repair, said Orochimaru, furious at the boy for what he did and the insult the boy just gave him. Well, considering this is you were talking about, I'll actually take that as a compliment, said Naruto, smirking at the man before unzipping his jacket before he threw it onto the ground, showing in muscle shirt underneath it, making him look like a prize fighter in an underground fighting arena. Sigh, little snot-nosed punk. Kabuto. Use our backup plan, said Orochimaru, ordered, as Naruto got into a battle stance along with Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizune. Kabuto went through some quick seals and after sending chakra to his right palm he shot it into the air before it exploded above him like a flare fired from a flare gun. That can't be good, thought the group ready to fight Orochimaru and Kabuto. Shortly within seconds after the chakra flare, 4 sound ninja appeared ready to fight, but these weren't any sound ninja. These were none other than the Sound 5, formerly known as the Sound 4, until they were forced to add a new member to the group, whose skills could best all of their own. They were Orochimaru's elite bodyguards, with each of them being handpicked by the Sannin himself. And things just got interesting, said Naruto, cracking his end before opening his Jaganai, slightly unnerving each of the Sound 5 as they remembered just who this kid was. You really didn't think I would just come here with just Kabuto, did you? He may be a scared warrior, but he's no match for a Sannin and her assistant combined in a battle. It pays to be prepared for situations like these in my type of profession, said Orochimaru, knowing that the combined force he had would allow him to escape with Kabuto to fight another day. After all, Tsunde's medical skills were not the only option in fixing his arms, and he could always transfer himself to another body. With the aid of Kabuto, of course, moving his hands to create the hand signs to perform the jutsu to transfer his soul into a much more lively body. The only reason he didn't was because it would have drained away all of his patience Orochimaru had in him at the present time, so he settled for a shortcut in the form of Tsunade. It seems when trying to go for a shortcut, all you get cut short is your head, thought Orochimaru, finding his impatience had been his downfall in this situation. Jiraiya, I trust you'll take the snake while Tsunade and Shizune handle Kabuto. Jiraiya nods. Good. I'll get rid of the 3 Stooges and the 1 Stugat, said Naruto, pointing to the Sound 5, while the one red-haired girl with the flute looked like she was ready to start Armageddon form what she heard him say. Tayuya, please keep your mouth shut, it will offend Orochimaru and that will certainly be the beginning of the end for your life, said Kimimaro Kaguya, looking over at the girl who was ready to speak and say things that would make sailors blush for over a week. Yeah. Besides, you need to pay attention to this guy rather than waste energy talking to him with that foul mouth of yours. Don't forget what he did to Orochimaru, said Jirobo, as Naruto walked over until he was facing all 4 of them with a small spring to his step. Tayuya, for all her bad-mouthing, knew when to keep her mouth shut, and the information she just received made her, though she had every intention of shoving her flute up the boy's multicolor-haired ass. Now Stugat, no need to think such nasty thoughts about me during a fight as they cut in on your performance. Besides, it's not becoming of someone of your, who am I kidding, it fits you perfectly, said Naruto, trying to be polite, and found it was not possible after reading further into the girl's mind, while the said girl was having a hard time trying not to speak out with her venomous tongue. Shame he's not one of us, I could get used to his sense of humor, said Kidomaru, putting all 6 hands on his hips before removing his head and putting it on his end, revealing he too, like Naruto, had a third eye, but unlike Naruto, his human and natural. My fashion sense in having a third eye must be catching on, said Naruto before he soon vanished and reappeared in front of the spider-looking Sound ninja. Kidomaru went into a half-offense and half-defense stance with his arms while trying to hold his own against Naruto, but found the boy was faster and stronger than he looked. Before he could try to land a single blow or counterattack on the boy any further, Naruto leaped over to Tayuya and did a mid-air spin kick before she could use her flute while hitting the said musical instrument, shattering it to pieces. As the red-haired girl leaped away for her own safety to get out her backup flute, Naruto landed on solid ground before he spun low and did a roundhouse kick, hitting Kimimaro in the face, who was trying to hit Naruto with one of his bone-ejected weapon from his palm thanks to his bloodline limit. Kimimaro stumbled back from the blow, slightly surprised from the strength he was hit with, before shooting 20 more pointed bones from his palm at Naruto. The demon vessel either dodged or blocked with his kunai with near impossible speed. So you want to get first crack at me, huh? Take this. Earth-style, Mud Dragon Jutsu, said Naruto before taking a big breath of air and released a giant dragon that was 3 times the standard size and required chakra needed for the jutsu made of mud at Kimimaro, keeping the Sound ninja down, but not out for the moment. Now hearing music, Naruto turned to see Tayuya smirking as she played her little song and was now making 3 demon-like summons appear behind her. Kick his goddamn ass, said Tayuya, looking at Naruto before pointing at him with her replacement flute. The 3 demon summons charged Naruto, each one looking and acting like a demon did as they roared in a rage, trying to kill their intended target. They stopped surprisingly in Tayuya's mind, halfway, seemingly frozen, as if they had been stuck in a point in time that they could not break free of. Naruto's Jaganai then glowed a hazy gray before turning yellow before turning to normal. In the end, the demon summons fell apart, turning to ashes, making Tayuya and the rest of the Sound 5 wonder what the hell just happened. In case you are wondering, I killed your summons by attacking their souls attached to those boss and freed them. Your snake of a master should really learn to respect the S more, before he becomes one of them, said Naruto before Saken moved in trying to attack Naruto, followed by Kidomaru trying to double-team the boy and keep him at A while the other two help their master, and Kabuto takes care of Tsunade and Shizune. Just when the battle had started, Kabuto moved quickly while pulling out a small vial of Orochimaru's blood he had with him in case he had to do something like this. Putting a small drop on his finger, he speared it over the summons tattoo on his master's useless arm. Working quickly before Tsunade or Shizune could reach him, he performed the hand signs while Orochimaru channeled chakra into them, knowing Kabuto had neither had the strength or stamina to summon what he needed. Ninja art, summoning jutsu. Manda, said Orochimaru, creating a large amount of smoke, and when it cleared, Orochimaru and Kabuto on a giant purple snake's head. Orochimaru, why have you summoned me? I expect you to provide me with over 300 human SS the next time you summon me, or I'll have you instead, said Manda before seeing a large amount of smoke not far away from him, revealing Jiraiya on top of Gamabunta, who, after making some comments about the man being a no-good lecherous pervert that needed to be squashed, agreed to help in the fight against Manda, seeing how neither summons or species liked each other. You will get them and more now, kill those insects before they prevent me from even doing it, said Orochimaru, angrily trying to put a great deal of authority-like power into his words, hoping the giant snake wouldn't discover his hands were nearly useless. For once I'm glad I got summoned by you, Jiraiya. Now I can get my wife a wallet made entirely out of snake skin, said Gamabunta, taking out his sword to fight. Kabuto, seeing how Tsunade was fighting off two of the Sound 5 members with the help of Shizune and getting ready for her summons as well, decided to intervene. He knew that if it was just the Toad-san and Jiraiya vs the Snake-san and Orochimaru, it would be a game of chance, being 50 out of 50. However, everyone knows when another Sannin of equal strength intervenes and picks a side, the odds differ drastically. So in this instant, Kabuto sprung into action, attacking Tsunade before she could finish her hand signs to do the summons. Sorry Tsunade-chan, but if you finish that summoning jutsu, it will endanger Orochimaru-sama. Something that cannot happen. Mystical palm jutsu, said Kabuto, as his hands glowed blue, making Tsunade recognize the medical technique that could kill as well as heal one's body. I heard he was a good medic, but this is ridiculous, thought Tsunade, dodging one attack after another before getting hit briefly in the side by Kabuto before hitting him in the face with a good left hook. Shizune was holding her own surprisingly against the two Sound 5 members, Tayuya and Jirobo, who were the weakest of the group. Tayuya's specialty was her genjutsu, but she had sparred once or twice on occasion with Jirobo, so she knew some of the basics in the form of taijutsu, and using her flute as a blunt object didn't hurt either. Jirobo, using his strength for intimidation as well as to destroy his enemies, found it hard to land a good hit on Shizune since the woman made it so she wasn't an easy target. The sked medic that was Shizune was taught many incredible things by Tsunade while with her involving the healing of others. However, she was also scared in other things that could hurt, that were the exact things she tried to remove illnesses from people who were inflicted by them. Poison mist, said Shizune before she shot out a huge blast of a purple mist at Jirobo, knowing that it would keep him at bay long enough to deal with the man's female teammate, who she tried hitting with her poison-filled needles she shot from her wrist launcher. While that happened, Kimimaro Kaguya finally got out of the mud after using two staff-sized bones with a point on each of them, using them to get out of the slippery mud. He had not expected this boy to generate so much chakra for the mud dragon, much less have a powerful jutsu like that to keep him down for so long. This kid was a pest at the very least, and the biggest threat to his master at the most, given Orochimaru's current condition. S-bone pulse, said Kimimaro, said charging at the boy, who was at the moment currently fighting Kidomaru and Saken in a high-speed, all-out, taijutsu fight. Naruto, finding it slightly difficult to hold his own considering he was in the middle of a 2-on-1 fight with 8 arms and 4 legs vs his 2 for each, proving troublesome, as Shikamaru would say. It didn't help that the one with bones coming out of his arms and using as staffs or subbing weapons was now back in the picture, trying to finish him off as well, making the boy feel cramped with very little maneuvering room, leaving him to rely on his speed to dodge the attacks and the strength of his defense to absorb blows that came from the ones he could not dodge. He may have 3 eyes, but that didn't mean he could do what he was doing forever. They are using teamwork, and if 3 of these guys can work together, then even they could overpower Orochimaru, or in his case, if the teamwork was in fact perfect, make me start to work harder, thought Naruto before he noticed Tsunade had been hit out of the corner of her eye with Kabuto's little medical jutsu, making her see blood and freeze up in shock. Tsunade, when you see your boyfriend and little brother, tell them Orochimaru and I said hi, said Kabuto, calling off the jutsu and pulling out a kunai with a sick smirk on his face. Deciding on the best course of action was to intervene, Naruto went on a quick offensive by grabbing the spider-like sound ninja by one of his arm's wrist. Before the ninja could do anything about this, Naruto guided it while it was still in motion and hit Sakin in his gothic-like face, making their boss collide with each other. Seeing his chance to move, Naruto dodged Kimimura's king strike of an attack and jumped in front of Tsunade, taking the hit in the right part of his chest. Don't forget about little old me now, said Naruto, staring directly at Kabuto before grabbing him by the T and using the fist of the moral flame on his N as the two play a game of ninja chicken to see who would let go of the other while Kabuto tried to dig his kunai in deeper. Tsunade, seeing Naruto take a hit for her, was shocked that the kid would do what he did, but then again this kid was like the wind. He seemed to always change at each passing moment in time, just as the wind itself did. Suddenly, 2 shadow clones in the form of Naruto appeared out of nowhere and each one punched Kabuto in the gut, hard. The end result made the sound ninja let go of the kunai in his hand and take a few steps back, trying to keep the puke rising from his stomach from leaving his mouth along with the blood from his damaged insides. This kid, he hits like Tsunade did back in her prime, if not worse, thought Kabuto before he could no longer hold it in and puked out vomit and his last meal from 3 days ago onto the grassy ground before the toe clones went after him to hold him back. The Sound 5, seeing this, rushed forward in hopes to get the multicolored haired genin now that he was wounded and in their minds a much easier target to hit. They found that not to be the case, as the kunai that was in Naruto simply popped out of his chest like it was nothing and had already removed the bandages on both his arms. The Sound 5 for a split second froze, seeing the 2 dragon tattoos pulsing, giving Naruto the time he needed to do what he had been training all week to do. Pay attention, Granny, because after you see this, I'll win that N-lace, said Naruto before forming 2 dragons into a Rasengan ball, making it grow unfathomably huge, scaring the 5 even more. What the hell is that damn thing? Said Tayuya, looking horrified at the amount of sheer demonic like, as all she could do was stare at her enemy now create something sinister. How do you like my new jutsu? I call it the Rasengan Twin Dragons of the Darkness Flame, said Naruto, finally perfecting the dark swirling orb along with its name that he made in his 2 hands before releasing it upon the group. Kimimura out of the entire group reacted first with his devotion to his master Orochimaru overpowering his fear if only by a small amount. Acting on instinct and the idea he had been thinking of for a short time now, the pale-skinned man summoned a huge wall of bones in front of him, the other Sound 5, and Kabuto. Boom! Was the end result as the huge bone wall was demolished, sending all 6 Sound ninja flying in all directions away from the boy, though a few such as Kabuto were hit with several bone-splintered fragments the size of a human elbow in the stomach, leg, and out off or shoulder. He did it. He finished the jutsu. Wait a minute. I lost again, thought Tsunade as she was now mentally shocked and fuming at losing yet another bet, again. The simple, but still horrible fact that she lost to a kid that was also Arashi's own son didn't help much either. Unfortunately, being perfected as it was, it also weakened Naruto greatly, as he made a mental note to only use such a jutsu in the event of being outnumbered or against a really strong opponent. Damn, that jutsu really takes a load of chakra and control to make when I have to call out the dragons from my arms and keep them in such a spiral round shape. Sorry, Granny, but I don't think I can cover for you anymore, said Naruto, panting heavily, trying stay standing while he closed his Jaganai, seeing how it was also tired as well. Sorry Naruto, I shouldn't have let those 2 out to help you. They were a little on the impatient side and acted out of anxiousness to help you. You know how kids these days get, thought Dragona mentally to Naruto, who mentally nodded back, though both of his arms were now feeling a growing pain in them. Crap. Okay, new mental note. Never ever use new jutsu unless it's to S in battle against an enemy. Naruto mentally yelled, trying to drown out the pain in his arms, finding they were letting off steam and sweat from such an intense attack before falling to his knees as the pain increased. The Sound 5 and Kabuto, seeing their chance to get Naruto back, despite themselves being in an injured state, rushed in to end the boy's life. Special beam cannon, said a deep dark voice before a orange-purple outlined beam with twists encircling it came out of nowhere and hit the ground in between them, the boy, Tsunade, and now by her side Shizune. The attack got everyone's attention as they looked in the direction that it was fired from, which was in the air, which surprised them seeing how it was, at least in their mind, except for Naruto, impossible to fly. However, much to nearly everyone's amazement, both friend and foe here stood a being not even human that was green-skinned, point ears, pointy nails, and sharp eyes that could cut through Orochimaru's sword Kusanagi like it was paper. The being had on a long white cape with white turban matching perfectly on top of his head, wearing mostly purple with reed around the waist lone. Who the S in the 9 levels of hell is that? Said Tayuya, as the being was now slowly descending towards the ground with its arms now crossed over each other. Allow me to introduce you to Naruto's new sensei, who is one of many senseis to be more precise, said Slade, now getting everyone's attention, as he appeared from what seemed to be out of nowhere. Slade sensei, what took you so long? Said Naruto, trying not to wince under the pain of his own arms, feeling like they were being burned alive. It seems paperwork is as big an evil in other words as it is here in the hidden villages, considering all the red tape I had to go through to acquire this one's services to help and train you. Everyone, both friend and foe, allow me to introduce to you the Nankian warrior simply known as Piccolo, said Slade, motioning his hand towards the warrior, who just looked at them with a serious face, before smirking an evil smirk that made Tayuya and Jirobo shiver. Don't be afraid of him, fools. K him and the boy while he's weak. Manda, let's end this so we can escape to fight another day, said Orochimaru on top of his giant snake, as he knew that his chances in this battle were by far not good and getting worse. Slade turned to see the toad and the snake fighting before he scowled at the filthy snake Sannon that by all reasons should have been S for some time. Reaching into his utility belt, Slade took out a small metallic rod and walked in the direction of the battle between the two Sannon. Without any hint of warning, the metal rod extended into a metal staff that was almost as tall as Slade before it was covered in hellfire. Take it from someone that is experienced in these matters, Orochimaru. You shouldn't play with fire, said an evil voice filled Slade, getting Manda's attention before the snake tried to strike at Slade with his tail. The attack missed as Slade jumped high into the air until he reached Manda's face, giving it multiple yet powerful hits with the hellfire-covered metal staff and kicks to the face, with the last hit being a horizontal spin kick knocking Manda's back severely. The results of such hits were not only surprising to Manda, but that they hurt him as well as confused the boss snake summons all in one. Who are you? No mortal can hit that hard, not even Orochimaru when he was in his prime, said Manda, finding this situation most disturbing. Slade, now feet on the ground, stopped the hellfire from his staff and clicked an invisible button on it to make shrink back to pocket-carrying size. Pity. Oh well. However, I do believe that, maybe, after you see me transform, you will see just how fox-like I can be, said Slade, as his demonic chakra came off of his body in waves, all the while transforming him into a huge 9-tailed fox. Kyubi no Kitsune, said Manda, arching his snake end back with his eyes shocked at the beast in front of him. Kyubi. I thought he was sealed away in Naruto, said Tsunade, wondering just how in the world the boy, Jiraiya, and possibly Sarutobi-sensei could explain this to her. What do you think of your odds now, Manda? 1 toad boss and 1 demon lord on your ass. I think you may want to reconsider WHO. You have signed your contracts in the near future. They tend to have a track record of being incompetent, said Slade before hitting Manda right in the eye with one of his tails, causing a permanent scar to appear on the snake's eye, trailing down diagonally through his mouth. Manda screamed in pain before the giant snake seemed to deflate, revealing snakeskin, and Orochimaru was a mud clone. How he did it though was unknown. They soon found the Sound 5 were also gone after seeing the transformation, and that the Nankian in front of them would have defeated him easily. What a bunch cowards, said Piccolo before turning around and walking towards the group, making everyone except Naruto and Slade feel intimidated considering how tall he was. By this point Jiraiya called of Gamabunta, and Slade, while still in his giant fox form, had a drink of sake, signifying good tiding between the two species. After the toad boss went poof, Slade transformed back into his human form before letting out a long breath. It's been a while since I've done that here in human world, but the feel is still the same. Pity we didn't KO Orochimaru and the others when we had the chance though, said Slade as he cracked his end to the side. You don't worry about that, Slade-sensei will get him. Sooner or later the taste of victory will be just as sweet, said Naruto, grinning while getting back up to his feet slowly as to not suddenly collapse under his own weakened state. Indeed. Also, if you do not mind me asking you, Naruto, what was that attack that you just used and made? Said Slade, turning to Naruto, who was now wrapping his arms carefully in bandages with the help of Tsunade, seeing as how he was having problems. You saw that. Well, it's a long story, but for the real quick version, I won a huge bet for Tsunade Barber-chan's lace given to her by her grandfather. Though it hurt like hell, said Naruto, noticing that Tsunade herself scowled at him and probably would have hurt him had it not been for the fact he was injured. Piccolo simply chuckled at the boy, seeing a lot of Goku and Gohan in the boy with his personality, with always pushing one's body to the edge of its limits and beyond. He may not have Saiyan blood, but he has the spirit of one. Even Vegeta would be amazed if not proud of this kid for progressing as far as he has, thought Piccolo before looking over at Shizune, whose face seemed to be somewhere between awe, terrified, and slightly, though understandably, confused about his appearance. I'll hear the long version later then, but for now we need to head back to Konoha. When we left, things were strained as it was, and I doubt things can take much more with all that has happened in and around Konoha. Even Arashi is not invincible when it comes to the ways of politics, said Slade before he disappeared, and a faint chakra signature that was Slade's was felt from within Naruto's seal under the shirt. He must have gone back into the seal, meaning he's still a part of Naruto. I'll have to talk to Arashi later about this and see if I can trust the beast inside of the kid, thought a very curious Tsunade, her mind fixed on the events that have recently happened. Hey, Granny, you owe me the lace, so fork it over, said Naruto, getting her attention again, and in the process infuriated her, making the slug Sannin want to pound the boy into the ground for that. She would have succeeded had it not been for the boy's still impressive speed, as she had forgotten that his arms were wounded, not his legs. Come here, brats, or I can give you the lace and the fist it's enclosed in, said Tsunade, trying to get close enough to hit him, and when he finally stopped she moved in for the K. She of course failed to connect with him as he did a substitution jutsu with himself and Jiraiya, who now wondered just what exactly happened. Such thoughts came seconds before the slug Sannin hit him low in the stomach region, close to his family jewels. For her part, Tsunade was surprised, frustrated, and yet at the same time happy that this worked out in some way. She may have been surprised when she didn't hit the kid and was frustrated that she had lost her bet while being called Granny, but she soon found herself in the realm of happiness. Happiness knowing that the super pervert that was the great toad hermit, Jiraiya, would not be able to peep on her, Shizune, and out off or any other woman in the bathhouses for quite some time. Well, if I can't hit one, I'll just hit another, I suppose, thought Tsunade, as they now walked with Naruto while Piccolo used some of his mental energy, or chakra, as it was called, to lift the super pervert up, while the said man just cursed on about no good kids along with the cruelties and discrimination of others towards his perverted ways. All over the world, all the women and the exceptionally rare anti-perverted men sneezed as one, all the while wondering just who was talking about them right now, before simply shrugging it off as nothing and going back to the daily lives. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.